it's finished for this part of the debt cycle, and that could last the next 20, 30, 40 years. And then interest rates will be 15, 20%, and it'll be time to play the same playbook that Adam played and the buy and hold people played again in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It'll be time to play that playbook again, because that is the circular nature of these cycles, right? We're at the beginning, at the first innings of a structural shift in these interest rate and debt cycles. And that's why we bang on about it each and every week, that, you know, that you have to learn that what the new playbook is going to be. And it's not hard. It's not hard, especially now with ChatGPT. It's not hard to ask ChatGPT what happened between 1960 and 1980, right? If you want to know what's going to happen for the next 20 years, go have a look at what happened before interest rates got to 15%. Go have a look at the 1940 to 1980 period, post-World War, right? 45 was the World War II. We're in 25. We're in a similar period. The structural dynamics of the period we're in, even though we haven't been in a kinetic war, are very, very similar. And so the answers are there, and we keep banging the drum and things like that. I think there's a bunch of different issues, right? Like there's the whole, Mandami just got in New York because he's been running on we're going to tax the rich, we're going to give away bus rides and transport. He can't even do all the things that he needs to do. He needs to get approval from places that he won't get approval. He's not going to tax the rich. He won't touch Wall Street. What'll end up happening is he'll end up raping and pillaging the middle class, because that's his only option to do so, right? So we're in this cultural, structural regime, whatever, where it's popular to talk about affordability or to pander to the problems with affordability by giving a 5% this or a 5% that, but it just exacerbates the problem, right? And so you know, we're encouraging people to go out there and to research these things, like Adam said, to do these thought experiments, you know, and whether, you know, tax is an issue for a rich person or not. And I think they're just different topics. They're just completely different topics.
Eric, one thing Adam mentioned earlier is, you know, the thought experiment. And sometimes you know, like he said, he didn't realize wealth, right? And the wealth that he had until he had it liquid. Like when you look at $5 million liquid as an example, right? Like at $166,000 a year, and sometimes it's good doing these calculations, right? Even if it's earning zero money, you're just going to go, you know what? I want to spend $166,000 a year, right? Until it's gone. It'll take you 30 years to go through that money, right? So you can right now, Adam, and I know you have more than 5 million, but that $5 million, right? Spend 166,000, live in Bali for the rest of your life and probably live half decent. And it'll take you to 30 years from now, right? Now, if you take, like James is shaking his head because it's hard to believe that that's how long it would take to spend that kind of, like when I did the calculation, I'm going, but in my mind, I'm like, $5 million, you'd go through that quicker than 30 years.
That's not even accounting for 5% if you put it in the bank as interest, which would make it even longer.
Right. If you, I'll be honest with you. If you actually, I did the calculation on 10% as an example, right? So if you do that at 5%, it's an extra $750,000 divided by 30 years, which is an extra 25 grand a year on top that you could just like. And this is what I mean. Like people need to have these thought experiments to sit down because people have unrealistic, right, amounts in their mind of going, I need 10 million or I need 20 million. Go ahead.
But we every single week we seem to be talking about going to Bali or going to Dubai or going to somewhere where it's more tax efficient. But are our audience, are the 2,000 to 10,000 people a week that are watching this show? How many of them have the mobility, or how many of them have $5 million in asset value or liquid value, where they can just pick up, go to Bali or Dubai and invest the money? What are the people that are listening to us, which I'm assuming the majority of the people that are listening to us are working a job or are running a business that pays roughly what a high paying job would pay. So effectively they've bought themselves or started a job, a sole trader job. What are they going to do? What are those people going to pick up and do in how are they going to get to Bali or Dubai? What are they going to do?
No,
No,
that's
a
not
lot
the
of
point, Mark. We're not advocating to go to Bali. What we're advocating for is to do the thought experiment on these different types of assets. Like, is property still the best way for Australians to do it? When you really sit down and think about the future and you think about the interest and all this sort of stuff, what advice would you give a young Australian listening to this or somebody rebuilding? And I think personally, Mark, there's sort of two things. I think you're right. I think if you're conservative or you're, I think the conservative mode is stay in your job in Australia, provide as much value as you humanly can so that you keep that job, keep your living costs as low as you can, pay all the taxes that you owe, and then invest as much as you can into a well thought out high growth strategy, whether that be Bitcoin or Tesla or Solana or XRP or whatever you believe after all your research and work, right? That's option number one, right? But also run the thought experiment. If you're a young person, I think young people should get the fuck out of Australia. If not for tax or anything, just get out for a bit. Like, go and see the world. Go and live somewhere else overseas in your 20s. And forget tax for a minute. Just the experience of it is so good for your head. But then option B, just could you, to add to option one, become an absolute savage in terms of the amount of information you start consuming about learning about how to make money in alternate ways, like what you're doing, Mark. Learn about options, learn as much as you can, and learn about high growth things like follow James and invest answers, but stay in your job. Option two is do a thought experiment and go, what if I could learn to make money online? Could I move my job and do it online in a lower cost living environment with a more tax effective way, and do the thought experiment? Could you do? Because at the end of the day, the standard of living in most places in the world, like where I am right now, the standard of living here is nowhere near as high as Australia and in Cyprus. There's no doubt.